Hello everyone, I'm Silver Raptor and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon deck building video where I am actually joined with Razman. Hello Raz.
Yo, what's up?
So we're going to be making some decks, some viewer requested decks, and I just thought I'd bring Razman along because, well, you are a semi-retired pro, isn't that right?
Quote unquote pro, if you want to call it that.
Well, you know how to strategize pretty well in this game, and I was actually kind of surprised that you didn't have the deck of a US mech deck.
Yeah, well, to be frank, it's because, for one, it's not a particularly strong deck, but on the other hand, it's not like, of course, no, I don't only place decks that I think are strong. Fun decks and shit I also have, but it's a deck that I don't know. I never really thought about playing.
Well,
But maybe I'll be surprised when I actually do.
yeah. Well, I've played US mech deck. I had one before my decks got wiped, and I started this deck creation series. And if I had to put in one word what the US mech deck is, and that would be bullets. Lots and lots of bullets.
I would have expected Bradley's there as the one word.
Well, Bradley's yes, but there was a lot of bullets flying around, a lot of like Vulcan guns and lots of Browning machine guns. Just bullets are everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, I'm also counting autocannon shells as bullets in this example here. They're pretty flimsy, but well. Let's get to the deck creation process. So let's just start this up. Which I'm trying to see which number I'm on. I'm on number 5. All right, my US 5th mechanized. We'll start again in the logistics tab. Or do you want to start somewhere else?
No, I'd say we just go through it in a chronological order, and then in the end, if we either need or AP points, AP, or still have some left, then we can obviously revisit the tabs.
Right. All right. So first off, fob in the deck, standard. And I'm actually kind of surprised we have access to hemps because they're not tracked; they're wheeled.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that all supply trucks are available in nearly all specs. I think the only specializations that they are not always in are Marines and Airborne, if I'm not wrong. But I think all of the like ground-based specializations, I think they have access to all of the supply trucks. I think it's just simply because if this was more realistic, then you might end up with decks that have no supply trucks available to them, and I think that'd be tough to play with.
Yeah. Now, I decided to get 2 cards of hemps. I sometimes like deviate and get 1 card of like the helicopters, like the Super Chinooks. But the thing is, for 15 extra points, it has the same supply, and the hemp is already pretty dang fast, and it's armored. Whereas the Super Chinook is of big size, so it takes a while to land. So I just thought, there's no. One Chinook is going to refill 1 hemp, which defeats the mini fob idea that I have on it, so just bring in more hemps.
Yeah, helicopter supply in general are just very, very inefficient point-wise when it comes to supply.
Right.
Which is why I think the exceptions are obviously the bigger you get, the less inefficient they become.
Yeah.
But especially the cheaper ones are just really not worth playing.
Oh yeah, definitely. The really big, heavy supply helicopters, like I said in a previous video, they're mini fobs, especially on big maps, long ways where you want to get your supply trucks to quickly get supply to the front line. You put them a little bit away from the front line so that the supply trucks just don't nearly have to go as far back. Resupply from there, then they go back and rearmor your troops while the big helicopters go back to the fob. But again, that's a little more micro-intensive, and you don't like to do that.
Yeah, though it's also point intensive, and often enough most maps aren't really that long, so that it's actually worth doing.
Well, there is that
in my experience, and
3 Mile
also,
Island.
like I like to use only 1 card of supply unit on top of my mob, so that means another extra 3 AP, which depending on the deck is very, very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I just then on top is that when you first buy the helicopter, it's not a huge fee, but it's still noticeable that you pay a lot for not a lot of supplies. So it takes a while until it actually becomes worth doing that. So I just don't think it's really worth doing.
Yeah. Oh well. So CVs, we've got access to 4 CVs. We can only bring one of each in.
Yeah, I think I'm not even gonna bring a TACOM, simply because the only transport it has is the M35.
Yeah.
But to get a bit ahead, the M35 is also the only ground transport available to Rangers in the Recon tab. So if I take the
Really?
infantry CV, I can't take Rangers in a ground transport anymore.
Yeah. Let's not restrict ourselves to that.
That's why I'm personally using the M60 and then the 100 point cheap
Oh,
SUVs.
you're actually getting the M60, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely worth the extra 20 points. You get one more top armor, which is the most valuable thing, and also more side and all the other armor, of course. The M577 is just even to 7 HE artillery dies pretty quickly. So if I'm
Uh,
buying a somewhat squishy CV, I might as well buy the cheaper and faster one. And if I want one that's actually survivable, I get the tank, and it's just 40 points more. So it's not like a T80 UK that costs 200 points.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I hate. Okay. I hate the M151A1. I just hate this truck. I don't know why, but there's no other alternatives. There's not even a Humvee that I can bring in instead. So, yeah, three CVs are definitely not enough, even for destruction, which I generally play. But we could do conquest as well. I will also get the M151A1 because I mean
And
you didn't have much option in the logistics.
yeah. Then on top of that, it's the only wheeled CV that you get if you are not taking the Telecom in the M35.
Yeah, it's true.
And if the map has a second spawn, second spawn that you have to conquer first, having a tracked only CV for there can be a bit annoying.
Takes a while to get there.
Yep.
All right, the infantry tab. Now this is main reason to get a mech deck is lots of different infantry. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see.
this is gonna be a bit tough.
Yeah. Because all we have are riflemen.
Yeah, no, I mean tough in terms of which Bradley do I bring with which unit. I think is what my issue is. Riflemen themselves aren't even that bad anymore. Ever since they did their MG and IV rebalance.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually found that light riflemen were better than riflemen before the rebalance, so they've actually fixed that. Okay, so I guess it really comes down to, do we want the M2 Bradley, the M2A1 Bradley, or the M2A2 Bradley?
Yeah, I think it also depends on what infantry you bring it at. I think if you like, there's with all the slots available, I think it definitely makes sense to take just one card of the M2A2 with a base rifleman, which is the cheapest way to get an M2A2 Bradley for situations when you simply want the cheapest M2A2, where you don't care that it comes with infantry. You literally only buy it for the M2A2, right?
Right. Okay.
And since you have 9 slots available, there's no point in not taking that.
Yeah, alright, so we'll get one of that. I'm thinking of getting like regular riflemen with the M2 Bradley. And the M2 Bradley, I'm thinking more of just like an anti-enemy troop carrier infantry fighting vehicle as well with those tow missiles. Those should take out any troop transport that they have if it gets into engagements. Plus a little bit of Bushmaster support. And I would say it's relatively cheap, question mark, for this combination.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Alright, question is, do I bring them in hardened or veteran? I guess I will be spamming these, so hardened would be fine. And then we just, so that I've got 2 cards of regular riflemen, which are just going to be my, the cheapest to get the M2A2, but basically my infantry up front. Now we need to focus, I think, a bit more on Rifleman 90s. I think do we want a card of Rifleman 90s with the M2A2 as well?
No, I did not take them. I have since you get only 2 M2A2s, I took one of them in with, like I said, with the base rifleman. Currently upweighted, though I think I want to downweight it, so I get 13. And the second card I took with the Stinger C.
Oh, so you're already way ahead of me.
Yeah, I'm already done with my infantry tab.
Oh, okay. Of course you are. So I guess Rifleman 90s, M2 A1s, would you say? Or which cards?
I have my Rifleman 90s. I have one squad simply in the M2 Bradley IFV, just like you said, just to do with other IFVs and cheap vehicles. And then a second card in the M113A3 if I want just cheap but cheap anti-tank with my infantry. Unfortunately, the 84 is the best I get, or well, the best that the US in general gets. But sometimes for the forest fight or something, you just want the infantry purely for the anti-tank weapon they bring. So this is a very cheap way to get them.
Yeah, I'm actually looking between the M2 Bradley and the M2A1, and for 5 points more, you actually get a pretty nice upgrade in terms of firepower.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I'm not saying either one's wrong. I'm just thinking, of course, that the base tower is only gonna one-shot up to 1 armor, but I'm thinking that depending on how many I use them, the 5 points could in the long run make maybe a bit of a difference. It's just something that I have to test. I have one card of M2A1s with Stinger A, just have a cheap M2A1. It's a bit, I'm a bit experimenting around here. I don't know, it's just something that I have to experiment with, but the 5-point upgrade is certainly massive.
Oh yeah, but you do get 4 less troops as well. It's still pretty hefty. I'm gonna put that hardened for the M2A1. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing with you, add an extra Stinger squadron out as well. And funny thing about the Bradley, do you know what a good saying is for the development of this vehicle? It's
I may have heard of it, but I don't remember anything right now.
It's a troop transport that can't carry troops. It's a recon vehicle that's too tall to be inconspicuous, and it's got the armor of a leaf blower, but enough firepower to level half of DC. Pentagon Wars, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I actually I've seen that. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, so interesting tidbit, and I think we do need to get some assault engineers because riflemen are not going to go very well against shock or elite trains. Red 4.
Well, I tend to disagree. So I took 2 cards of base riflemen downweighted in the M113A3. So first of all, riflemen for 10 points, they are actually alright infantry. They have an assault rifle, which isn't the best, but at least it's not an SMG, which is terrible on mine infantry. And they have a standard MG, which is just alright. You know, there are worse options, but obviously better. Sure, the anti-tank weapon is not great, but the M113A3 is a really good 5-point transport with 3 armor. It's not gonna get one shot by heat or other infantry unless they have 17 AP or more. So other cheaper or basic Mochitsu, for example, need 2 shots to kill them. And it comes with the Browning, which is, when spammed, significant firepower in closer range. So the idea is to literally just spam the shit out of them. Every now and then mix them with the Rifleman 90 squads to have some sort of anti-tank weaponry with them. And points-wise, especially with the extra veterancy, there are not a lot of other infantry, unless it's mechanized as well. There are not a lot of other infantry options that are more efficient. Because, especially if they come up with against the same elite squad, which, let's say it costs 45 points. For 45 points, you get 3 cards, 3 riflemen units in the M113, which means 3 targets. The elite infantry might just wreck one of the squads, but at the same time 2 other squads plus the M113s will just fire back, stun, or just literally outright kill the elite squad.
All right.
It's really, and on top of that, base riflemen, because are just very great because US also gets amazing fire support in the tank and vehicle depth. And assault engineers, the problem with them is they're very, very inflexible. Plus, Yeah, they just get too easily countered by simple 5-point transports, but at the same time we have 8 slots, 9 slots. So now that
We have slots.
it's we have a shit ton of slots, yeah.
Well, we have a lot of infantry, that's for sure. So that does leave open one more card, and we could get we could get an assault engineer, just like the suppressing, but we also do have access to Delta Force with the only
Yeah,
helicopter.
I was about to say, I actually took one card. Delta Force, I don't really like.
I don't like
And
either.
The Chinook is a terrible transport helicopter, but I'm pretty sure that there will be niche situations where it will be nice, or just if you have the points, or you just want to sneak around an infantry squad, Delta Force are good for that just because they're fast. Or if
Yeah.
you literally just want something pure town fighting, because line infantry and town fighting generally doesn't go very well. So they're not gonna be like very helpful in many situations, but I think they are gonna be niche situations where they're gonna be
Yeah.
good enough.
For me, I don't know. Whenever Delta Force get into a fight with any kind of an infantry, they're the number of men just die too fast. I noticed that their numbers just go down quickly, and I don't know why. Like, it seems to me faster than other infantry.
They actually used to be better when they were 25 points with the base law, because back then they were actually fairly efficient CQC infantry just for town fights with the SMG and mainly due to the SMG on the lead, which is just amazing in CQC, where you just don't care what kind of anti-tank weapon it has. So now it's just, and then the main problem obviously is the 25 points for Chinook, that after dropping off the Delta Force is just going to be basically worthless.
Well, it could be infantry fire support, but yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with it, the gun is on its side, meaning when it wants to fire, it has to rotate 90 degrees. And by the time it's done that, by the time it lines up the gun, the chances are the infantry has a different line of sight now, so it has to turn again. The infantry is dead or out of line of sight completely, so it doesn't see it anymore. Or in 90% of the cases, the Chinook is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, for all these reasons, I decided to get assault engineers. I just think putting a couple of assault engineers next to my riflemen might help break through some like shock trained or elite wall of infantry in towns and such. So let's just deviate there. All right.
Support.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to get the M48A3 Chaparral, basically longest infrared AA in the game. Well, maybe not the longest.
After, I think the IDO 90, doesn't the IDO 90... Oh no, I think the IDO 90 does the IDO 90 have 3,325 as well, or does it have more? Maybe it got nerfed.
I think it's at 3,325.
Yeah, it has the same. I think at when it got released and it had radar, I think it had 3,500. But
yeah, then they were
not like it matters now.
Right. Yeah, the other chaparrals are just the accuracy and the range just kind of let it down.
I like taking both the 70-point ones and the 55-point ones if I have the slots. That's because the 55-point ones 70 points is pretty steep for a unit that the missiles are good, especially their fire and forget, while they're not very accurate, but fire and forget and 6HE is very nice. It is just slow, it has no armor, it's very easy to lose to artillery. So sometimes I just like to have the 55-point ones, because on some maps you don't really need the range, not necessarily, yeah. So I like to have the option to take a cheaper version, especially since I have man-pads as well. I'm not that dependent on the Chaparral, because in most of the other decks I can't really fit in man-pads. Man-pads are great, but in unspec decks it's hard to fit them in my opinion. So with the extra flexibility that I have there, I think the 55-point ones is also, well, just also useful to have. But still, taking the 70-point ones is, I think, still a must, just to have that range against helicopters. Otherwise, certain helicopters can really mess you up.
Yeah. Going by that, I think I'm actually going to drop a card of Chaparrals, and I'm actually going to get the IHawk Pips, one card as well, just for a little of dedicated anti-aircraft, but it also could take out helicopters at pretty decent range. I just have to be careful of the KA-52, but that's what the Chaparral comes in. I'm also debating, because I'm bringing in some iHawk pips and they are kind of expensive, whether I should get a card of PVADs or just stick to a card of Vulcans.
I did take a pivots. I
You-
don't have Hawks. I just don't like the Hawks outside of the Noah. I think they're too expensive. Also, they're just very slow, and they're not really bad per se, but they're just so awkward to use. I feel it's just some personal kind of hate relationship I have with them. But the nice and well broken thing about the pivots is it is the only spec it has 0.2 seconds aim time. All other specs have 1 second aim time. 1 second, I should say.
Wow.
So that's actually a very huge thing. While it doesn't have the range of, let's say, a Gepard, the much slower aim time is actually very, very, very nice to have.
Yeah. 0.2 seconds to aim and start putting lead in an area is pretty good.
The same goes for the Hobbit used by Israel and the Machbet as well, by the way.
Okay. The Vulcan has the same niche as the PVAD, just you don't have to turn it off because it's not radar.
Yeah, it's cheaper, so it's very good for base defense.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm just thinking, if I have a card of PVADs and I forget to turn off the micro, well, wait, I only have 4 radar that I have to worry about, and instead of the PVADs being by I'm bad excuse by having them front pips, I'll just stick with the Vulcan. Yeah.
At the same time, you can also use the pivots as some sort of cheap meat shield or seed meat shield.
That's what I was talking
for
about.
your Hawk.
Use them for cheap meat shield for the Hawk, but I'm just thinking I only have 4 Hawks. It should be easy to micro just 4 radar AA pieces, so I'm just going to stick with the Vulcan. And Vulcan can be good infantry fire support as well in very niche situations. So mortars. I know that you like to have a lot more mortars, rounds in your mortars with the M125A1, but that only has 3 HE.
I'm taking the M106.
The M106 because it got 4 HE, right?
Rounds are obviously important, but at the same time, more HE rounds, more HE, which correlates with the caliber, of course, means also bigger smoke.
Right. Okay.
If I have 2 4HE mortars and one has more ammo than the other, that's of course. But ammo it's only relative to with the same HE. But it's always or nearly always the case that the mortars with more HE have a lower ammo count. But at the same time, you don't need as much ammo to smoke the same area.
All right. And I'm seeking the final card that I was going to get some artillery, and I was trying to debate between the M109A2 or the M110A2, and I'm thinking of getting some hardened of the M110A2 for the 10 HE, just kind of have a sniper precision artillery strike to take out any really pesky dug-in units.
Yeah. I'm not taking any more support units because I think I'll need the points elsewhere.
Well, I will certainly see. I can definitely come back and get rid of this if I can't fit it anywhere else. All right, tanks. Yeah, so that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's honestly pretty easy. M1A1, M1IP, base M1, and MBT-70.
Yeah, this is the only time anyone would ever pick the M1A1, because generally the other tanks that are...
I mean, yeah, sort of, but at the same time, the M1A1 fills a nice bridge between the HA Abrams and the IP Abrams.
Yeah.
So in team games, it's not really a huge deal, but let's say in a 1 versus 1, or maybe even some tacticals, I think it's a nice intermediate tank to have.
Now,
It's just alright.
Did you get your A1s hardened or trained?
I got them trained because I take only 1 card.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because they're generally only useful because of the gun, because they have the same armor typically as the IP Abrams. I guess the gun has longer range and it's got pretty good penetrating power.
Yeah, the gun is obviously the major difference and the most important difference.
Well, I decided to get trained as well because I'm thinking it is cutting the numbers in half, and it's only hardened. It's only an 8% extra accuracy.
And let's be real here, with Blue 4 tanks that have 65% accuracy,
they're going to hit
the
anyway.
accuracy you get with hardened isn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah, they're going to hit anyway.
exactly.
The M60, no, I'm not touching that at all.
No, the M60s are just
It is nice. What?
no, the M60s are just can't forget about them.
Yeah.
They're usually trash.
They are. The MPT-70, however, that's with the ATGM.
It is. Oh no, you don't buy it for the ATGM. The
You buy it for
ATGM
the
is trash.
5HE power.
You buy it because it's your blue for ghetto BMPT. with the autocannon, and the autoloader 10 RPM 5HE gun, it is an incredibly good fire support unit. And unlike the BMPT, it's also pretty good at like further ranges where it's not in infantry and the tank range with that 5HE.
Do you want to hear something interesting about the MPT-70? It was a cancelled prototype unit.
Oh yeah, with collaboration with the Germans. The Germans have the KPC-70.
With
It's
the
basically
West
the same
German.
thing, just with a different gun, and I think obviously with an autoloader. But I think the tank, the KPC in game, I'm pretty sure there was something wrong. I've a book even about Leopard 2 where there's a big part about the MPT-70, and I think it's actually it should have been called Eber, not Kaider, but it's.
Well, the thing is that yes, the MPT-70 went over cost, and the West Germans pulled out, and so we canceled our project. And then, a number of years later, afterwards, about say 9 or 10 years later, when both sides needed their own tank, they went back to what they had on the MPT-70, both sides, and from the design, they went further, and the U.S. developed the Abrams out of the design of the MPT-70, and the West Germans designed the Leopard 2 based upon its design.
No. The Leopard 2 barely has anything in common with the KPC-70. I actually there were like two fields in German, when they developed the Leopard 2. There was like the one part who swore about the KPC-70 and just wanted to, because of so much money that was spent on it, just try to put as much of the that was in the KPC-70 into the Leopard 2, but in the end, barely anything was carried over. The main thing that was the L44 gun, but I think outside of that, really not a lot.
Okay, I read somewhere that they tried to base it off of the Leopard 2 off of the MPT-70, so I don't know. We spent a lot of time just talking about stuff. Just 4 cards of tanks. That's what I've got. Is that what you got?
Yeah, same. M1, yeah, M1, M1 IP, M1 Abrams, MPT-70.
All right. Recon. This is actually fairly interesting. This is where the Recon, but too tall to be inconspicuous, comes into play with the Bradleys.
Yeah.
One thing I do find interesting is the M551A1. Now, I don't think this is too bad.
No, it's not.
I would definitely take this over the M3 Bradley.
Well, Oh, wait, hang on. Do you mean the one with the ATGM?
The M551A1, yeah.
Oh, no. I'm not taking this. I'm taking the 30 points one.
30 points.
Just for cheap, somewhat the defensive recon unit that you can put into forests where it's hard to swap, and it's just able to deal with any like other cheap or infantry trying to sneak around or test the waters. That's what I buy it for.
Well, I don't know.
If you're spending the 45 points on the TTS, I'd personally even rather take the base Bradley.
Why?
Because the tower actually hits. As stupid as it sounds, but that stupid shill, I don't care what it's called. It has a stupid name. It's very inconsistent. And 16 AP is just not really too much. And it also has only 6 of them.
That is true. But it is amphibious. That's an interesting addition.
Yeah, but yeah. Personally, I don't like it.
I'll go get that. But I did like your idea of the 30.1. I've kind of trained myself to think that good optics is just not good enough. But
sometimes you only want good optics because the optics if you have more than good optics, those massively increase the price. And sometimes you just want good optics because more often than not, you buy these fighting recon vehicles like the Bradleys. You buy them mostly for the stealth, not the optics. In the case of the Bradley, that's maybe a different thing because it has the ATGM and can spot units that are in cover. But in the case of the LAV, something like a Hachinana or something like some recon tanks, you mainly want the stealth just so they can fire without getting shot back.
Gotcha.
Or like the M84AN, the main thing why it's so strong is the stealth. So
Yeah.
sometimes you only want the good optics because you want the unit to still be as cheap as possible to still justify buying it mainly for fighting purposes.
All right. I also got a Ranger squad in the M35, so cheap front
Basically
line.
must, yeah.
Yeah. And now, finally, do we want a Kiowa? That is kind of expensive for a 50-point recon helicopter. I'm kind of
No,
inclined not to.
I have the M3A2 Bradley, the Rangers like you, in
Yeah.
the 30 points, ACAF and LAV 25 Scout, just to have something wield that can, while it's not really that strong, at least it has some sort of firepower.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that. One thing I'm thinking about was the Cavalry Scouts and Super Dragons. Is basically the double ATGM of missing. That's
Yeah.
about accurate, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they came in the infantry type and they were like 10 men's, basically light riflemen, 10 men's constant MG, and in the Super Dragon M113, it might probably be an okay thing to take. Yeah, just very cheap, 2 ATGMs dealing with like other light enemy IFVs, but in the recon type without the veterancy from Mac, it's just not at all worth taking.
All right, then I won't take them. I'll just get the Bradley, the 2 M551s, and the Ranger. All right, vehicles. The next part of what makes a mech deck a mech deck, and the first thing I'm going to get is the Combat.
Oh, the first thing I'm gonna get is the CEV.
Okay, the second thing I'm going to get is the TV.
And then the second thing I'm gonna get is the M6163 CS.
M6. Where is it?
The one next to the combat. Might maybe even 2 cards, but I'll see later on.
Yeah, these things are good.
The main difference with the Vulcan and the supportive is the extended ground range.
Yeah, that's what I was definitely gonna get this. So having this alongside Vulcans, they kind of cover each other's little bit of weakness while overlapping if they get close enough.
Plus, they're also faster, and obviously they gain the veterancy boost.
Yeah, I brought them in as veteran, but 2 cards as veteran.
The cheaper Vulcans are only 50 kilometers per hour off-road.
Yep. Let's see. I generally don't like ATGM on vehicles. They're just not. I don't know.
We don't need them. We have the Bradleys.
That is true. Okay. Well. Okay. Problem solved. And then I'm thinking of just getting some Zippos. The M132 Zippos for a little bit of flamethrower support.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like flame tanks.
I do.
Yeah.
And we're going to ignore the LAV-25 because we've got Bradleys. I think that's all we need for our vehicle.
No, I mean, why? The LAV is wheeled. That's a massive difference. The LAV, you can use the LAV for sneaking around because it's fast and it's amphibious. The Bradley is not really meant for sneaking around. Plus, it's a lot cheaper than a Bradley. I don't really think it fills the same slot as a Bradley.
Well, the LAVs have poor stealth.
True, that's why I got the recon LAVs.
Right, but, I'm talking about here in the vehicle tab.
Yeah, but I mean, still, they're wheels, which automatically nearly always makes the role completely different because they have that massive speed advantage.
True.
For flanking maneuvers and such.
Yeah.
And again, the price is obviously a major difference.
Yeah, but then again, they don't really have a whole lot of firepower.
Yeah, but if you just want to sneak around and see if you can pick up some AA or potentially a CV, that's all the firepower you really need.
Yeah, that's true. I do have to say the Ontos is a very funny looking regardless rifle unit.
It used to be a really top tier unit when it was 15 points, long time ago.
Yeah, and they had to increase the price because it's too good.
The big thing about it is obviously it has 6 shots ready before it has to reload, so it shoots, etc. And then it starts reloading, so that is a massive deal.
Right, well, time for helicopters, and this will be certainly interesting. I definitely think we need the AH-1F Cobra for some air Itos.
Yeah, and that's all that I'm gonna take, really.
Well,
Because it also acts. Sure, it costs 80 points, but it also already has the Vulcan and the Hydra. And generally, helicopters on the mech deck aren't. Ideally, you'd want something like a that because you're slow, so you don't want to get helo dropped in a town, but you don't have access to them.
well, I like to get also one card of AH-1S Cobras, and the reason why is these are my pure infantry dedicated killing helicopters in case they have a massive amount of infantry.
I've seen it. I personally hate the AH-1S because the twin minigun is so much worse than the M197 Vulcan on the other Cobras.
Well, not really so. It actually has this more rounds, and also it's got double the rate of fire with the same amount of accuracy. It's just that I just use it entirely just to pick off infantry that the enemy has to help keeping my troops forward. So I don't know. I've been able to get a pretty good success with the AH-1S Cobra. So I'm getting a card for those.
All right.
All right, and the aircraft. The problem is the enemy has AA, which means we can't really use the Thunderbolt. However much I love it, it
What do
doesn't.
you mean? The main role of AA of the Thunderbolt is to kill AA.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need eyes on it, but the good thing about the Thunderbolt is with the 2 armor, it's gonna take only 40% of the damage.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
it's perfect for just tanking AA. Obviously, it can't tank a book. If a book hits it, it's gonna be stunned.
One thing I didn't like about the rework is that they changed it that after it fires its 6 Maverick missiles, it goes into Winchester. And every time that does that, I'm just like, no, why would you go into Winchester? The Mavericks are not your main gun. It's your Gatling gun to kill tanks. That Gatling gun is 6 AP power, designed against top armor, with 6,000 rounds per minute.
It hits front armor.
Front
But
armor.
because it has heat, it doesn't really matter. No, it's always gonna deal damage to armor because of heat, right?
Right. It also has 6
But
AP,
yeah,
so...
the gun is.
Okay, you know, I never really thought of using the Thunderbolt to take out the AA.
It's obviously a lot easier in 1v1s, but it's if used correctly, and it's also a bit map dependent. It can also do a lot of work in team games, although it is harder to do there. But at the same time, I think in team games you can also take more expensive planes, so you don't really need it as much. But it's certainly not really quote unquote unusable or something along those lines.
Right. Okay. For AA, I decided to get some Block 16Cs. They are 10 points cheaper than the F-15Cs, and I can get them in at Hardened, which I feel
Yeah,
is
they're very, very card efficient.
I'm thinking of also maybe should I get some Wild Weasels?
I would not use the Wild Weasel because it has no stealth.
Oh.
The Prowler, and especially the Raven, being the only one with good stealth, but the Prowler and most or many other seaplanes have medium stealth, and that means they're gonna get detected a lot later. Means that it's easier to catch the enemy off guard with their radar AA on. So that's why I would, in the US I would never use the Wild Weasel. On top of that, the seed missiles also have less range, which means you have to get it deeper, resulting in giving your enemy even more time to turn off their radar AA.
Gotcha. All right. So
But
I think
I'd either take the Prowler or the Raven.
I'll take the Raven.
Yeah, but the main thing is, of course, if you lose the Raven, then it's the only seat gun. At the same time, it's a lot more powerful, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
I'm really never too sure which one of those to get. I always switch every now and then.
The F-15 Deagle, as I like to call it, I think I'll get those 4 1,000 kilogram bombs. Pretty good. And you'll like this. I've actually had my F-15 Eagle coming in for a bombing run. The enemy brings in a Su-27 PU. I, instead of the bombing run, turn to engage, which is kind of the standard for aerial combat. If you're trying to make a bombing run and you're about to be attacked, you have to engage the target. My aim stunned the Su-27 PU, and it evac'd, and this F-15 chased it, killed the PU, turned around, made its bombing run, and got out. That was an awesome moment in my in one of my games. So,
Yeah, these sidewinders are not to be underestimated.
especially since you're coming in at elite.
Yeah, I have also the Block 52. Then I have the Nighthawk, the Hornet, the F-111F Aardvark with the cluster bombs, and the Raven. Because as a mech deck, our main strength is obviously infantry, meaning that most of the times I should really have trouble to deal with enemy infantry, but the main problem is going to be dealing with tanks, since the best tank I get is the M1A1. And since I also don't get a longbow or an Apache or a Tower 2 in the helicopter tab, I need to have more anti-tank abilities in my air tab. So I have the Nighthawk, which is to be fair also a normal bomber, but still excellent against tanks. The Hornet, obvious one, arguably the best anti-tank win in the game because it comes at 2 per card. And then the Aardvark as a cluster bomber. I was kind of debating on using the Thunderbolt or maybe even the Harrier with the semi-active Mavericks, but the cluster bomber, while not being the best one, it's still nice to have every now and then.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide between the Hornet and the Thunderbolt, because I mean I understand what you said about the Aardvark with the cluster bomb. And since I already have that artillery piece, I don't really need the Deagle, even though it is really good. I think because you got the Hornets, I'll get the Thunderbolt just so that we have a little bit of variety and see how these work. Especially since I kind of think if there's a massive tank push, I need kind of these time over target with the Gatling gun to just help take out tanks as often as possible, once the AA is down, of course.
Yep.
Alright, then I think we've got our deck. I'm just going to quickly put in the Blue 4 tab because I like to get into a lot of random games, and sometimes those random games have C lanes when I didn't realize it, and it's bad time to realize you don't have anything in your C tab when you're in a C map, but I have a pretty standard pick of just basically all Blue 4 planes, but I understand you probably just don't even bother.
No, also because it makes the deck look uglier, because the units look out of place.
Well, I've just kind of gotten used to them. Alright, well, that's our US mechanized deck. Are you happy with what you've got?
Yep, I had the 3 points left over, so I actually did replace my M1A1 with 2 M1A1s on Hardened, because I didn't know where else to spend the 3 points, and...
Yeah. Okay. And I have them trained. You've got 8 M1A1s hardened, so your deck sounds pretty decent.
So does yours.
Alright, so we will be trying these out. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you all in the gameplay video.
Yep, see you guys.
Bye.